it's me, Hairyett. I'm so super excited because today it's my turn to do the next part of the Clyff Hanga Saga story. This is part 5. Can you even believe it? Don't worry if you missed out on all the other ones. You can always just hit the pause button on me now and go and watch the other 4. That's right, that's so exciting. You can watch them anytime. But don't worry if you don't feel like doing that either, because I'm going to give you a little recap of what happened in the last few weeks. Well, the story started when we met KD, and she just moved to this new town with her family because her father had lost his job. And she was very sad and she was moping about. And then the only person she really saw walking around the town was a very sad looking clown, and she didn't really like him very much. One day on her birthday, she woke up and she heard the knocking at the door, and she went to the door, and there was this man standing there with a super spiffy purple suit, and his name was Clyff Hanga, and he asked her if she wanted to come with him and have an adventure. And he was driving a red convertible car, and she found out that he was half a dragon, well, half dragon, and that meant that he could breathe fire out of his nose, but he couldn't fly. He could only really float, but she didn't mind. So she got into his red convertible, and they went flying around the town, and they went over the forest, and there down in a clearing in the forest was the sad clown. And they went down in the convertible, and Clyff introduced the sad clown to KD, and he said, "This is my brother. His name is Hiff Clanga." How cool is that? And then she also found out that he wasn't really sad. It was just his sad clown makeup. And actually, he was really happy and he was laughing. And they said, "What are you laughing about?" And he said, "Well, I've just found out some news about the whereabouts of our mother." You see, their mother, she had disappeared when they were younger. One day she just went for a morning walk and she just never came back. Their father suspected it had something to do with magic, but they didn't really know much. And now there was the possibility that they could find out where their mother was or what happened to her. But the problem was that the information they needed was in the castle that was across Mermaid Lake. And to get to Mermaid Lake, you have to go through the enchanted forest. Well, KD had an opportunity to go home at this point, but she said absolutely not. She was having one of the best birthdays of her whole life. So she said, "I'm going with you. Let's go find your mother." So they went through the forest, and on the way, oh no, a whole swarm of hit skittles came and they started biting KD. She was obviously very sweet, so they liked her. She remembered before she went on this adventure, she had packed some blueberries into her pockets, which was very clever. And she pulled out the blueberries and she threw them, and the hit skittles got distracted and they flew away. Oh, they just got out of one mishap, and then she fell straight into another one when she fell into some quicksand. Lucky for her, she had found out that Hiff, who was a clown and been training in magic school, could do super fun things, one of which was to tie a whole bunch of vines together to make a long rope, and he helped pull her out of the quicksand. He then later on pulled out some more tricks from his sleeve, literally like a chocolate milkshake. And Clyff was wondering what kind of a magic school it really was that he was going to. But then we also discovered that maybe he was a little bit magic too, because the mother was. Anyway, they then came to this giant wheat field. Oh no, it was enormous, the biggest wheat field you could ever see in your whole life. And they needed to get through it to get to Mermaid Lake. The only big problem was that Clyff was super allergic to wheat. One sniff of that and he was going to have a giant dragon sneeze, and everybody knows that dragon sneezes are really not good. So KD and Clyff came up with this idea. If they could find a barrel of some kind, then maybe Clyff could take a big sniff of the wheat, stick his head in the barrel, and shoot himself over the field to the other side. And Hiff and KD could just run straight through and they could all meet each other on the other side. But where were they going to find a barrel? Just at that moment, they heard a loud, moaning voice coming from behind them. And when they turned around, oh no, it was a grumble troll. Hiff was terrified. They both were. But then Hiff started crying, and he was terrified, and Katie said, "What's going on? He's not going to eat us, is he?" And Hiff said, "No, it's worse." She said, "Really? What can be worse than that?" And he said, "He's going to moan." And everybody knows that nobody can survive a grumble troll moan. Oh no. And this is where the story ended last time, so we're going to pick up from there. So poor Hiff was just shaking in his little clown shoes. And all these weird things were happening to him because he was a clown and he was magic. And he was crying, and all these little butterflies, colored ones, were flying out of his eyes, and these weird, strange noises were coming out of his ears. And poor Katie, she didn't know what to do. She tried to pull one of the hankies out of his pocket, and it just kept coming and coming and coming, and also a few rabbits, hula hoops, all sorts of weird things. "Don't cry," she said to poor Hiff. "You've got to calm down." "Well, I've got an idea," she said. "What are you going to do?" said Clyff. "You take your brother Hiff over there and go and sit on that tree stump," said Katie. I know what is going on here. This troll is moaning a lot, and I've been moaning a lot recently, especially with the move and my father losing his job and me not having any friends. I know exactly what to do. I'm just going to do what my mother always does." "Okay, what does your mother always do?" said Clyff. But Hiff was hysterical at this point, and Katie could see that the troll was becoming even more grumpy, and he was grumbling a lot more than he was before. So she said, "Clyff, quickly now, take your brother over to that tree stump and give him a big hug, because everyone knows that hugs are really good when you're feeling scared." So Clyff had no choice. He could see that this troll was just becoming more and more agitated. So he took his brother over to the tree stump. But he was keeping a watchful eye over Katie and the troll. And him and his brother sat down, and when they looked over, they could see in the distance this tiny little girl with her snow jacket and her rubber boots just facing the troll. And she was just standing there, and she was just nodding. Well, Clyff turned to his brother and he said, "What do you think she's doing? What do you think she's saying? Do you think she's going to do some kung fu moves?" Hiff said, "I don't know, but it's not good. Everybody knows that no one can survive a grumble troll moan." "Pull yourself together," said Clyff. "Come on, she's going to be okay." And they looked and they were amazed. Katie then sat down on the forest floor, which was now covered in all sorts of clown stuff because Hiff had had a little moment. She sat down, and so did the troll. He also sat down, and she just nodded her little head like this. And all the two brothers could hear was this low moaning sound coming from over there. And the more they listened to the moaning sound, the sleepier they started to feel, and their little eyes closed, and they went off to sleep. When they woke up, they didn't know how much time had passed, but Katie was standing there, and she had a big grin from ear to ear. She said, "Wake up, Clyff and Hiff! Look, I've got a barrel! And guess what else I've got? I've got an ibab." "What?" said Clyff. He also noticed that the grumble troll was gone. "Where's the grumble troll, and where are your boots?" he said, looking down at the now barefooted Katie. Well, just start from the beginning," said Clyff. Hiff, who was just waking up from a deep clown dream about weird sandwiches made out of hundreds and thousands and tomato sauce, said, "Are we alive? Or are we dead?" And he squeezed his big red clown nose just to check and see if he was alive. And Katie said, "Yes, we are alive. Let me tell you what happened." So she told them that whenever she has been moaning or sad or grumbling about things, her mother takes her into a quiet, safe space, and they sit down, and her mother allows her to talk. And all that she does is listen and nod her head, because listening is super important. And when when she's done listening, you know what she does? She distracts me by telling me to think of 1 or 2 great things about myself. What could be great about a grumble troll moaning, said Hiff. He was not convinced. Shh, said Clyff. Let her carry on. This sounds amazing. And then, what did you say to him? Well, I started by saying, you must be super generous because the first thing you said when you met us was that we could have your barrel or that you had one for us, so you're super generous. Then I told him he's super good at hopping on 1 foot because he'd had to hop on 1 foot because his leg had been so sore for so long because he'd accidentally tripped and fallen over a rock goblin, which looked very much like rocks, but they're actually goblins. And so he'd been hopping around for a long time. And while I was listening to him, I also found out, said Katie, with big wonder in her eyes, that he is a collector of lost things, things that other people leave behind. Okay, like what? Well, like bells and whistles and tents and fishing rods and half-eaten sandwiches, and he's found yo-yos and spades, and he's found sunglasses, and he's even found a pair of false teeth. A yo-yo, said Hiff excitedly, jumping up off the rock that he was sitting on. A yo-yo, that could be mine. And then he let out a happy clown farting noise. Well, anyway, he was happy, and he said that I could have the barrel and the ibob. Okay, but before you tell us what the ibob is, where are your boots? Well, I thought it would be a kind thing to do, to give him my rubber boots, to help him with his big, clumsy, ogreish, trollish feet. Well, they didn't really fit, said Katie, but he was very, very happy and he loved their style. He said they would go really well with the frog-shaped umbrella he found this morning. So I gave him my boots, and he gave me the barrel, and then as an extra thank you for the boots, he gave me an ibob. Okay, tell us what an ibob is, they both brothers said. An ibob is an inflatable blow-up boat, said Katie. Inflatable blow-up boat. Ibob, the 2 brothers said. That's ibob. Where is it, though? And Katie put her small hand inside her pocket of her snow jacket, and she pulled out some squished black blueberries, and they were stuck to this tiny little egg-shaped container. Here it is, she said. How can an inflatable blow-up boat be in such a small, tiny egg-shaped container, said the brothers. Well, he also told me before he left that we can only ever use it once, said Katie. So we have to wait and find out. But we can't just stand around here. We need to get across that wheat field, she said with great enthusiasm. Yes, of course, the brothers said. All right, then. I think what we should do, said Katie, is that you should take a nice big whiff of that wheat. Then you should stick your head in the barrel, and we should make sure that you are airborne, and then, only then, should we run across the field behind you. Okay, said Clyff. Well, what are we waiting for? So he took a big, deep breath in of all the wheat. And that is where the story is going to end today. So we're going to have to wait till next time to find out, did he actually make it across the wheat field? Did Hiff and Katie manage to get across as well? What happened when they got to Mermaid Lake? And does the ibob work? And more importantly, will they ever find their mother? These are all things that we need to know, so you're going to have to watch the stories. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one. I can't wait to see you again. Have a good day. Toodaloo!